Part 4. I sat forward. He did not hide it. He did not attempt to hide it at all, said Dupin. And here is the important question. Why not? Why would a man of his intelligence, holding something of such enormous value, leave it unhidden? Because he thought the problem through completely. He knew, with certainty, that the police would search his house. He also knew their methods exactly. He knew they would check every hidden drawer, every hollow leg, every secret corner. He knew they would use their magnifying glasses and their needles and their careful measurements. He knew they would be patient and thorough, and he asked himself, is there any hidden place clever enough to defeat this search? The answer is no. There is no hidden place that can defeat a truly thorough search by patient, experienced men with the right tools. Any hidden place will eventually be found. The more elaborate and clever the hiding place, the more clearly it signals that something important is concealed there, and the harder the searchers will look. The only safe solution, therefore, was this. Leave the letter where it could be seen. Place it somewhere so obvious, so openly visible, that no one would think of looking at it carefully. Make it impossible to find. Not by hiding it, but by making it completely unhideable. There is a useful comparison here. Have you ever played a game with a map, where one person must find the name of a place written somewhere on the map? A beginner at this game will try to make it hard for his opponent by choosing a name written in tiny letters in a distant corner. But a skilled player does the opposite. He chooses a name written in enormous letters across the entire breadth of the map. That name is actually harder to see. The eye does not stop on it. It seems too large, too obvious. Too much a part of the general background to be what you are looking for. In the same way, in life, as on a map, the things that are most completely visible are often the most effectively invisible. Now I will tell you what I did. One fine morning, I went to the minister's house. I told him I was passing by and thought I would call in for a visit. I wore a pair of green spectacles, telling him that my eyes had been troubling me lately, and I needed to protect them from bright light. This was, naturally, a complete invention. The spectacles allowed me to look wherever I chose, while appearing to be looking at whoever was speaking to me. I found the minister at home. He was in his armchair, in a posture of absolute total relaxation, yawning, stretching, looking profoundly bored with everything in the universe. He always presents this appearance of complete idleness to visitors. It is a carefully and deliberately constructed performance. In reality, as I know from long acquaintance, he is one of the most energetic and active men I have ever met. but he saves his energy entirely for moments when no one is watching. We talked. I mentioned my eyes. He was sympathetic and pleasant. I steered our conversation carefully and naturally, without making it seem deliberate toward subjects I knew he found very interesting. And we discussed them with great enthusiasm and animation, while I used my shaded eyes to examine every corner of the room at my leisure. I paid particular and careful attention to a large writing desk near his chair. On it lay a somewhat disordered collection of papers and letters, a few books, 2 musical instruments. I examined all of this as thoroughly as I could. Without appearing to do so, I found nothing there that seemed connected to the stolen letter. Then my eyes continued their slow, careful circuit of the room. They moved over the bookshelves, over the fireplace, over the windows, and then they stopped. There, hanging from a small brass hook just below the center of the mantelpiece, was a simple, cheap little card rack made of cardboard, hanging by a dirty blue ribbon. The kind of thing a person might use to hold visiting cards or small notes. It had 3 or 4 compartments. In them were 5 or 6 ordinary visiting cards and 1 letter. This letter was in a terrible state. It was dirty. It was crumpled. It was torn almost in half across the middle, as though someone had started to destroy it as worthless and then, at the very last moment, changed their mind and stopped. It had a large black seal, and I recognized the cipher on the seal as the minister's own. It was addressed in a small, light, delicate style of handwriting, clearly a woman's hand, to the minister himself. It had been pushed carelessly, even contemptuously, into one of the upper sections of the rack. The prefect had given us a very precise description of the stolen letter. The letter in front of me seemed completely different in every external detail. The stolen letter had a small seal, red, with the arms of a particular royal family. This one had a large seal, black, with the minister's cipher. The stolen letter was addressed in bold, clear, decisive handwriting to an important royal personage. This one was addressed in delicate feminine script to the minister himself. The only similarity between the two was size. But these very differences made me more suspicious, not less. They were too extreme, too perfectly arranged. A man of the minister's habits, careful, precise, always well organized, would not normally have a dirty, crumpled, torn letter stuffed carelessly into a card rack in the main sitting room of his house. This appearance of carelessness was itself a performance. It was designed to make the letter look worthless. Just another piece of unimportant correspondence. Not worth examining. Not worth noticing. And the position of the letter. Right there, in the open, in full view of every person who entered the room, was not an accident. It was the most sophisticated piece of concealment I had ever seen. I extended my visit for as long as was reasonably possible. I kept up an animated and interesting conversation with the minister, but at the same time, I was memorizing every detail of the letter's appearance and position. Its exact place in the rack, the angle at which it had been pushed in, the amount of letter visible above the top of the compartment, the pattern of the creases on the paper. And then I noticed one final thing. A detail that removed all remaining doubt. Looking very closely at the edges of the paper, I could see that they showed a particular kind of wear and fraying at the fold. A kind that only occurs when a stiff piece of paper has been folded in one direction, pressed flat with a smooth instrument, and then refolded in the exactly opposite direction, using precisely the same crease. The paper had been turned inside out, as one might turn a glove inside out. The letter had been unfolded, reversed, readdressed on the other side, and resealed with a new seal. The minister had taken the original stolen letter, turned it completely inside out, written a new address on what had been the back, and placed a new seal over the old one. In this way, it looked like a completely different letter, one belonging to him of no particular importance, while in reality, it was exactly the letter the police were searching for. I said goodbye to the minister with great warmth, thanked him for a very pleasant visit, and departed. But as I left, I made certain to leave my gold snuff box behind on the small table near his chair.
To be continued.
Подпишись, пожалуйста, или хотя бы поставь лайк. Один лайк не меняет мир, но меняет путь того, кто делится смыслом.